Welcome to the Edge of NFT podcast with your hosts, Jeff Kelly, Ethan Janney, and Josh Krieger. We aim to bring you not only the top 1% of what's going on with NFTs today, but what will stand the test of time. We explore the nuts and bolts and the business side, but also the human element of how NFTs are changing the way we interact with the things that we love. This podcast is for the futurists and dreamers, the disruptors and creators, the fans and connectors, and the makers and doers that are pumped about this ecosystem and driving where it goes next.
Yeah, and you told us how you kind of brought existing ideas that you had put together and sort of brought in the NFT, at least in its inchoate form, into your project, and that sort of led to Alien Worlds. But at the same time, Alien Worlds, as we know, it's like one of the top dApps right now. It's been a very ambitious project from the start, and we hear about and see ambitious projects all the time. And then we stop hearing about them sometimes because, they fall apart and nothing happens, right? So, I think be a great person to ask, like, how you kind of execute, or what's the journey of actually executing on a vision when you have something grand and big that you're ambitious about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing, isn't it? You're right. There are some projects that have kind of come and gone. I mean, we've even seen that in the rankings, like DApp Radar showing the gaming and other activity in various DApps, and some of them look like they're coming up and they're going to challenge us, and then 2 weeks later they're kind of nowhere, and you think, oh, I wonder what was going on there, like why. And then some projects have been much more stable. So yeah, I mean, how to execute. So the thing is that what we've built with Alien Worlds is a platform. We think of it as a metaverse, a place in which people can use fundamental architectural pieces that we've put in place, so the NFTs and the planetary DAO structures, which I can talk about, the inflationary mechanism, which is how gaming rewards come into the system day by day, and how those are competitively allocated between the planets that are in competition with each other. So, that's what we've constructed. But really, actually, the community now is, because everything's on chain, nobody has to come to us really for permission to interact with the smart contracts to offer their own games using those architectural pieces. And that's what's happening. So, for example, over the summer, communities began within Alien Worlds to drop their own NFTs onto certain collections of landowners. And so there's a company that's offering this as a commercial service within Alien Worlds, not our company, it's just a totally separate one. And you can go to him and say, hey, I'd like to have NFTs dropped onto certain collections of landowners, and he'll kind of execute that. And you can do it with him and figure out which NFTs and which groups of landowners and so on. This is just one example of, because the entire metaverse is on chain, it's accessible to anybody. I mean, admittedly, you have to have a bit of technical expertise, but it's not. You don't have to send me an email or come up with a contract with us. Like, it's completely open, and that's what the community is doing. So question, how do you execute? I think you have to make it executable by a wider group of people. And that's actually what, for example, DAOs are designed to do. They're designed to bring in a group of people that actually can come and go, for example. So, the group of people that's involved in a DAO will change over time, and because the token sits at the center of it, by selling or buying the token, or by working your way into ownership of the token, you can come and go out of the DAO. So these structures, if you can design them so that as many people as possible can contribute to them in a sort of organized way that's clear how that's happening, I think that's one of the key things about execution. It's not easy to. I mean, yes, that does require some design and some technical execution, and then some teaching people how to engage with those things, or attracting people who already would know. Like, for example, that company that I was mentioning, he already can read chain data and can execute something like that. So that's really the thing, is that's what a decentralized blockchain project is, in contradistinction to just any other game or company. It's that what you're trying to build is something other people can pick up the ball and run with it, for years and years to come.
Yeah, it's interesting. It feels very much like, almost like genetic algorithms or something, right? If you set up the correct initial conditions, then something can happen. And if you don't, then something won't. At the risk of being a little bit obscure, we've referenced this guy, Stephen Wolfram, before, as someone who's involved with Superworld as one of the advisors. But, he's this mathematician who did a lot of stuff around what they call cellular automaton. You create one cell, maybe it's like literally a pixel on a screen, but you define rules as to what its neighboring cells are, right? And there's a set of rules you can define, and some of the rules, it just makes a straight line, right? And some of the rules, it makes this like incredible infinite universe of pixels that go on and create all these interesting patterns and stuff like that. So it sounds like, that's kind of been a little bit of the secret sauce in setting this up for success, is really spending the time to find those right initial conditions that make something magical.
The views and opinions expressed on the Edge of NFT podcast reflect solely those views and opinions of the show creators and its guests. We're learning as we go, just like you. Please make sure to do your own research. Our podcast is not financial advice. There are multiple strategies, and not all strategies fit all people. You understand that you are using any and all information available on or through this podcast at your own risk.